So, welcome back to the very last round of talks of Enterprise Cloud Native Summit 2021. I'm very happy to welcome my colleague Sascha Hase, VP Edge at Kubermatic, and he will take a look into the not so far future and explain us why Cloud Native could serve as the common platform for both cloud and edge computing. Sascha, the stage is yours.
Thanks a lot, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this year's ECNS 2021. Let's jump right in. Why is Cloud Native the common platform, or why could it be? Well, I think in general we need to start with things that are slowing us down. And I think one of the major things you could all agree with is that adoption of new technology and new processes is hard. It takes years to get them into the major working streams, especially in enterprises. And we have to have our proven tools and methods in order to really gain velocity in an enterprise context. And I think for Edge to be successful, the past 10 years of development all around cloud need to be embedded into Edge as well. Let's take a look back. Let's take a look back at distributed computing. We all know and love our data centers, and we did them for a specific reason. We wanted to have more power, more boxes, and most of them connected, so that out of our distributed computing, we could generate more value in the end. And there's one thing that distributed computing is lacking in comparing to Edge, and this is the heterogeneity of the devices. In cloud, we basically did pretty much what we did before. We connected a huge number of computers, but we made them very easy to consume. AWS EC2 instances are still one of the most relevant things. It's nothing else than a virtualized computer, which we have done 10 years before that. But there are also highly optimized interfaces, like APIs, for instance, that will make you succeed with whatever you want to do quite easily. And to some extent, I think Kubernetes also is quite of a threat to some of the proprietary services we have been seen in cloud. Cloud is, of course, very easy. Everyone knows how to get around. If you cannot solve this puzzle in 5 minutes, I think you may not call yourself cloud consultant. And Edge, what is Edge? I mean, from my perspective, Edge means scattered compute. We will have compute, network, and storage in locations we didn't want them to have before. We may specifically neglect it, that we need to connect to devices that are not in our nice little data center. And the essence, from my point of view, is that Edge in our personal life with mobile phones is a reality. We all have compute power in our pockets, and business is just adapting in the end. But I want to maybe challenge ourselves a little. I think Edge includes cloud as well. If we look at most architectures, they will stem from cloud into the Edge. We will still leverage all those nice possibilities, all those nice platforms and software and SaaS applications we have built over the past years, and we will connect them to the cloud. Sometimes we won't connect, but then for a specific reason. How does Kubernetes at the Edge look like today? Well, one of the edge computing challenges that we will face is to have a lot of locations, to have more remote locations, to have a lot of dynamic provisioning, and to store data at a specific remote location and may only proceed parts of it. The application lifecycle management will become more challenging. And of course, we would still like to integrate our 25-year-old machine that we have grown fond of in our shop floor for the past 2 decades. And it is still a very productive piece of equipment within our company. Well, Kubernetes is especially useful because some of the things that we learned with cloud are now adapted to Edge as well. We would gain standardized declarative APIs, we would gain immutable infrastructure, and we would gain a lot of automation and resilience when adapting Kubernetes into the Edge, which ultimately would lead us to better TCO, better resiliency, and of course, a faster time to market because we could already train how to do Kubernetes in a data center. If we look at the market development, there is a prognosis that the Edge IT footprint will mostly revolve around so-called the prognosis that you can see here is quite extensive, and I wanted to point out from our perspective, with Kubermatic Kubernetes platform, we are ready for it. We already are able to deploy onto a onto the service provider edge and even onto the on-prem or so-called data center edge. And all these different locations, they will have things in common and things not so in common. And these are capabilities that we build up at a specific location for a specific purpose. This is a depiction of how our future will look like, or at some cases already looks like. And we will use the different edge clusters to provide different kinds of application and services throughout our whole value chain. With the Kubermatic platform, we will orchestrate that all centrally. Now, to be honest, nobody cares about infrastructure. Nobody has ever cared. And I don't know if you ever applauded that you had tap water. We all see that as something given, and we do not like to think about it. What we all care for are our applications. On our mobile phones, these are applications like WhatsApp, games, email, browser, which work every day and every time. In Edge, application development and operations will gain another level, so to say. Applications will be truly distributed. We will see applications where a part of the application is running at the edge, where data aggregation is happening and maybe some data processing. And then we will have maybe major components that will not run on the edge anymore, but in the cloud, as seen earlier. We'll have a lot of applications that no human operator will deploy in the future. And of course, we need to adapt to the resource scarcity that we only have the compute and storage available that we deemed necessary in the beginning. So in the end, this all comes down to one thing: cost. Edge and scale also means that we care for cost. This is how we adapted our monitoring, logging, and alerting infrastructure with our development team so that we are fit for Edge in the future. This is currently in development and will be released later. It is a Prometheus, Grafana, Loki stack, quite common, nothing too spectacular. But what we cared for is a specific multi-tenancy capability that our MLA application will work centralized and decentralized. What I just said, we adopted to our application stack of Kubermatic platform as well. Cloud native applications do have some very nice advantages. For example, they have operators. Operators are somewhat a replacement for tasks that human operators did in the past. They are somewhat a more elegant way to teach Kubernetes how to work with your application. And I think it's quite easy to say that the benefits outweigh the negatives. We will have applications that are fully automated. We have a life cycle advancements, and we'll have a lot of testability and Kubernetes native feature set with operators. Now, with CubeCarrier, we have written our own multi-cluster application management. We'll use a service catalog to store operators. Then a user opts in that this cluster needs or wants to consume resources from the catalog. And once opted in, CubeCarrier takes care of the deployment of the specific applications via the operator. In that case, we will have full automation available end-to-end. And this is all just by using cloud-native procedures right now. This is how this could look like in the future. Our now called Kubermatic stack will take care of applications in every scenario on cloud, on an edge, or on an on-prem data center. In edge, we'll also see that these individual capabilities share and some things that are quite important. We'll have the individual capabilities, but they all have common denominators. These denominators are compute, network, storage, and hopefully Kubernetes. When we think about that, we will come to the conclusion that when we have a certain set of homogeneity within our tech stack, we could do something quite interesting. And this is what we call container auto-match. Balancing containers is easy. We all know and love what just happened in Suez Canal in the recent past. And what we want to do to make it easy and not block the worldwide shipping and container business is we want to adapt to Edge even further. We want to add metadata to make the infrastructure a deployment target that is described in its compute, network, and storage capabilities. And we also want to add that metadata to applications so that the application requests certain amount of abstracted compute, network, and storage capabilities. If we then take a look at what software does best, automating repetitive tasks, we might be able to bring those two together. And a possibility that we see in our future is that we use CubeCarrier to do just that. And in the end, we would have a KKP platform that abstracts more or less all of the infrastructure, and we would use CubeCarrier to abstract all the deployment logic and the deployment automation via operators. And then we could roll out applications to whatever location and device we want, because we only need to have the metadata, and via end-to-end automation, we will be able to securely deploy applications into production facilities, into data centers, into the production area itself, or onto the device even. We will be able to work with remote transport networks, and we will be able to run fully fledged Kubernetes workloads at large scale, for instance, in a power plant. Thanks a lot for your time. Reach out to us if you haven't been to earlier, and have a nice evening.
Thank you, Sasha, for this glimpse into the future. If you have questions, please post them in the channel. This session will be on for another 10 minutes, so you still have enough time. I would want to promote our very last talk, the importance of integration documentation in a hybrid cloud. with Donovan Simpson. I hope you are not too tired by now. So please join us for the last session. And yeah, bother Sasha with questions in case you have them, or reach out to him after the event. All right. Then thanks again for joining, and see you in the next session.